Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sree Iyer. Joining me today is Dr. Ankit Shah. We are going to be talking about two new developments in Iran as well as in the United States. Will this change the de-dollarization path that it is on right now? All this and more. First, please like this video. And now let's welcome Dr. Ankit Shah. Dr. Shah, Namaskar. Jai Shri Ram. How are you?
Jai Shri Ram, pleasure to be here again.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shah. Question for you is, you had tweeted recently that something is changing in Iran. And I think you tweeted the picture of the latest king or the successor to Shah Reza Pahlavi. I think that is a picture that you sent out. I'm not 100% sure. Perhaps you can clarify that and why, and explain to our viewers why you think this is going to happen or it's imminent.
We have to understand that uh, the the main geopolitical macro view of the next decade, as we know that we are slowly progressing to seeing signals of de-radicalization across in the West Asian region. So when we say de-radicalization across the West Asian region, we do understand that Iran, which has a traditional Islamic cleric rule, that especially for the last this many decades after ousting the monarch, we see that slowly and gradually the people are disenchanted with the kind of regime that has fallen upon them. So eventually what we are seeing is a joint effort by the Western collective to oust this regime. This is what I expect to happen before 2030. And the tweet that I have done was about the heir who's living in United States. So it could be a good possibility that once the Islamic regime is being removed from Iran, he has a very good chance to come back to the country. And we do not know what kind of format that would be. Would that be a constitutional monarchy, or what we are looking at, a pure democracy kind of a format where he might take up a role of a president or prime minister or whatever that be. But eventually, I see before 2030, he assuming some important role within the country. And this has a lot to do with the kind of movements that we are seeing in the region, because nothing happens all of a sudden. Okay, there is step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4 until we reach step 10. So if you look at the erstwhile president who got killed in that helicopter crash or whatever that sabotage be, uh, one of the striking fact about that accident was there were 3 helicopters, and the entire team was in one, and there was not a single allegation from the Iranian regime that the West is involved in it. Not even a random mention about it that this could be a possibility. And what we also saw is, in the periods that you see last 3-4 years, there has been random visits of Islamic clerics to Vatican. Besides that, what we are also seeing is there were rumors that the Ayatollah's son is going to be in the fray, whereas the new leader that you saw coming in, getting elected, is a completely liberal kind of a secular credentials. Compared to the Iranian standards, you can call him secular. Okay. So the previous Raisi regime that you had was purely on the basis that he had this hardline stance that he had. And the Ayatollah literally, barred several other candidates and got him elected by whatever the game that they would have played. And we saw that immediately after his election, he built his own entire team of foreign policy and stuff like that, which also took a hardline stance. Now, that you're going to have this new leader coming in, you're going to have more liberal team members in the government. So eventually, what we are seeing is that Ayatollah is aging. His son was not propped up in the election, and liberal kind of team members coming in the government. And the situation on ground that we already know, that people are completely disenchanted with this kind of a fundamentalist kind of a society or patrolling that the clerics were able to do several years back. So this all has backfired basically. So the prediction which I had given by 2040 that it will be a Christian majority, I think we are well placed towards that prediction. So I do see that the hair will eventually have some role in the future Iranian government. And I think that is exactly why United States has kept him safe in the West. This has been true, I mean, even before when Ayatollah landed in Iran, he was kept safe in France, as you might be knowing. So, those whoever the powers to be who are deciding this big place certainly, plan for the future. And as we are seeing that de-radicalization is going to be the future plank on which the next decade is going to completely play out, as we already seeing many signals. I mean, by now we have seen Trump's vice president candidate. Some of his speeches which are moving about viral in social media. He is saying United Kingdom is the first Islamic country with a nuclear
Yes,
weapon,
I saw that.
right? So, eventually, as time passes by, if you look at from geopolitical perspective, there will be less and less Britishers who would be keen on the old world order on ground in terms of number of people. Similarly, there will be less and less Americans who would be keen on the old world order linkage it had with Europe, because these are the white settlers which are now, gradually being outnumbered because of the falling birth rates and whatnot, right? So the kind of world order that we are moving towards in the next decade is where I see United States will be the new United Kingdom in terms of role in global politics, and Bharat will take up the role of the new United States in the, as we say, as the leader of the free world in that context, and as a leader of the global South. And United States will be taking the role of UK for Bharat as a supportive. So this is what it looks like we are heading towards.
Question for you, Dr. Shah. You said that Iran could become a Christian nation. Now, if you look at the history of Iran, I mean, Persia and beyond, before that, it was, of course, Sanatani. Then you had the Zarathustra, and he went and he was a disciple of, I think, Shukracharya, if I remember correctly, something of that nature. It goes back to Mahabharata days, Shukracharya and so on. And then he was a worshipper of fire, and Zoroastrianism came from that. Now, would it not be easier for a country which has a very rich heritage to go back to its Persian roots or Zoroastrianism than to Christianity? Why do you feel like they would change the whole paradigm and go towards Christianity?
I think there are two, three reasons for it. The first reason being the current Iranian generation, they have memories of modernity which they link with Christianity. Okay, they cannot certainly go that past where they would go back to their native stuff. Whereas, as soon as the regime change happens, Christianity is equipped with sending in teams of missionaries. I mean, they'll just come falling down on the country. Okay. And certainly when such teams come down, they come up with lot of perks and incentives for people to get converted into Christianity, as we all know how missionaries operate. And besides that, the kind of backing and funding which the native religion would want. There is no visibility of that kind of number strength or monetary strength or that kind of objective to reconvert back the entire country to the origin. So, in all ways, if you measure up, it will end up with Christianity. That is what it looks like to me. And I think
Thank you so much. Yeah.
there are also Sree, parallels which are happening in Saudi Arabia with the BRICS stuff happening around. Now, there are reports floating in which says Saudi Arabia has still not confirmed its membership with the BRICS. There are reports which are going on which says that President Biden wants Saudi Arabia and Israel deal to happen, peace deal, a recognition of Israel to happen by Saudi Arabia before he leaves office. I mean, this term. Okay. So, and then there are some reports which are saying that the oil for security program, which there is no confirmation as yet about that, it is still ongoing. Maybe there would some news would come after Israel Saudi Arabia deal gets done. So my understanding is I do not see any incentive for the United States going forward securing the solar panels or the hydrogens in Saudi Arabia of the new post crude oil world order. Okay, there would be no interest in that. Neither Saudi Arabia has any tangible benefit to store all its savings in a single currency. So I do not see why this would work out. But certainly Saudi Arabia and Israel will foster into the new relationship because post financial reset, since a lot of purchasing power of the Western currencies are going to be wiped out, there are only three corridors which are going to boom with trade. One is the INSTC corridor from Chaba. Second is the IMEC corridor, which Mumbai, Gujarat ports to UAE via Saudi Arabia to Israel, and then Greece and Italy. And the third, which is the Chennai-Vladivostok corridor. So these are the three main ancient trade routes which I believe would be reviving back and in with full vigor with the de-dollarization and de-radicalization process. So yeah, I mean, I've tweeted on this that the 400-year cycle which I talk about is getting reversed of a single country reserve currency. What that goes to mean that MBS's forefather, I mean, that marriage is now called off with the daughter of the Wahhab clan, right? So that Wahhabi spread which happened post, especially funded with the petrodollar after 1971. I mean, I do agree that the fundamentals always existed with the religion, but the financial push that happened that's now after 1971, that all the clothes of Saudi Arabian women or the Iranian women or the Afghanistani women or the Iraqi women suddenly turned into black. That was a lot of credit of that goes to the petrodollar. Not just that, in Bharat, as we see, suddenly entire script went. You got Javed Salim coming in writing 786 Billa, Amitabh Bachchan moving with that. The way you saw how Amitabh Bachchan is asking questions to the gods in the mandirs. So this entire scripting, Gulshan Grover got killed. Both the sides of highways of properties in the country went to one community. The way the stars in Bollywood were supposed to keep Hindu names to survive, suddenly Khan's now taken entry into it, and then all your screens are showing Arabic lyrics and Arabic scripts in the movies. All these thanks to the petrodollar. I mean, the entire screens of the TV were showing Prem movies while all your cities were facing terror attacks. So all this thanks to the petrodollar. So the entire radicalization that has happened with the push of petrodollar, I believe that the de-dollarization process eventually means a de-radicalization process, and that has to happen with the funding of the same Gulf states. So you're not surprised that Saudi Arabia celebrated Sanskrit Utsav even better than us, even better than Bharat. So, and then, you already know the kind of footfalls that has happened in the UAE Mandir. And nobody ever thought how, even Baba Bageshwar will go to Dubai and is able to speak what he wants. So these are the changes which we are seeing, because even they realize that in a multipolar world order, each of the regional power will have to establish its own fully functioning military, its own fully functioning economy. You cannot no more rely on United States coming to rescue you till the Gulf. Neither that Western currencies would have that power to be able to spend that much money. I mean, there are people already, political leaders in the West, questioning why are we spending so much money outside, right? You already see those things in the debates. So even the vice president candidate is clearly saying that this Ukraine conflict is nothing but siphoning of funds of the US taxpayers to the defense companies. Otherwise, why would this conflict stretch? I mean, if I ask you, why would you really think Putin doesn't know the location of Zelensky? I mean, come on. His entire team is having openly a pool party since day one. Okay. So everybody understands what that script is. And as I've been saying, even before the conflict started, I said that half of it is going to the US companies and half of Ukraine is going to go to Russia. The end outcome is already known. So if the script is stretching, what that goes to show is that they are waiting for the de-dollarization crisis to strike in the West, because they're already charging Western citizens several times more for the same Russian oil and gas. Everybody knows it, right? So, I mean, despite the fact that they have done very nice propaganda in the mainstream media, that Putin is losing or Putin is weak and stuff like that, the fact of the matter is 10 Western governments have lost power after the Ukraine conflict. And Putin is getting stronger and stronger.
Thank you, Dr. Shah. Last question about Iran before we go to the de-dollarization in some depth here. See, you said that chances of the evangelicals taking root and incentivizing the people of Iran to convert to Christianity will start gathering momentum. For that, before that, the regime change has to happen, right? So what you are saying, if I understand you correctly, by 2030, regime change happens away from Islam, and then after that, the doors will start getting opened. And as Iran tries to come to the mainstream, it needs a lot of resources, and that would probably be in the form of evangelicals. Is that what your projection is?
Certainly, because the new government that will come is going to be a pro-West government.
Well, so it will be very interesting, because I somehow felt that Iran was a very proud nation, proud of its culture, and to yank that and go, I mean, till yesterday they were death to Israel, death to US, death to Christianity, death to this, death to that, and then now you're saying no, this is what you're going to be. It could be a bit of a hard lump to swallow. So we'll wait and see how that goes. De-dollarization, Trump's arrival. Trump is equally vehement about digital currency. He says, I'm not going to allow that. That's what I've seen from his speeches. So the central bank digital currency concept, CBDC, it's going slowly here, there, everywhere. You have mBridge that has come out in by China, Hong Kong. They're trying to make it look big, but it's actually these two countries, which is now one. And then they have said that, oh, we have Thailand also was joined on. And now Saudi Arabia says that they have also joined. So this is sort of like a counterweight to the dollar. However, the events that are happening in China is very, very concerning. Like, for example, they expected their last quarter growth to exceed 5%, and it has not exceeded. The normally inflating Chinese themselves have not inflated it past the 5% magical mark. It has come in at 4.7%, if I remember correctly. So how strong do you think China is to counter the dollar? First. Second is, of course, will Trump arrest the slide of the dollar?
So I would like to give a little background about the Chinese economy before, so that the viewers will get an idea about how it functions basically. So it is a growth by corruption model. So what happens in the Chinese economy is the CCP gets a cut from the profits which the companies make. So the babus or the government is incentivized to give permissions as early as possible. So that helps the private sector to do business, and that generates profit, and the babus and the CCP get a cut in the profits. Whereas, I mean, when you compare it with Bharat, what happens with our babus is that they want a cut right away. So they stop giving, approvals, stop, giving licenses and stuff like that. So, which is why you are seeing the kind of speed with which it grew. Now, one thing that we need to understand, I have to take people back to the late 90s, where European Union came up with its currency euro. That was the first ever de-dollarization in the world. As soon as Europe came with this, the entire fake valuation which was accumulated in the IT sector, the entire reserve currency bubble, uh, that burst violently in 2002, what we call as the dot-com crash. This is the first ever impact of de-dollarization. Now, since the European Union refused to park their savings in the US Treasury and the US dollar, this is exactly why.
Keep talking, Dr. Shah. I'll come right back.
Yeah, this is exactly why United States brought China in the World Trade Organization. So by the late 90s, when they launched the euro currency, United States dragged the NATO into a Yugoslavia war to bring the value of euro down. And as soon as the Europeans realized this, they said we are no more parking our savings in the US Treasury and the US dollar. And with that, the entire bubble that was accumulated, reserve currency bubble, fake valuation accumulated in the IT sector, got burst violently in what we call as the dot-com crash of 2002. But panicked with this decision of launching of euro currency, what America had to immediately do is they came up with a new regulation replacing the old regulations for banking. So now commercial banking was mixed with investment banking. So as soon as an American deposits money into their bank account, the American banks could sweep that money into another account and play speculative trade with it. That is how they thought they will try to survive the IT sector valuations. But as soon as the European Union said no, the entire bubble got burst. But then America had to find out someone to park their savings in US Treasury. Otherwise, how to continue US dollar as a reserve currency? So they found out a friend in Chinese Communist Party. They brought it to the World Trade Organization, gave all the membership benefits of WTO, and the Chinese Communist Party promised them that they are going to save in the US Treasury. This is how the US dollar was able to continue even after 2002 in that status. Now, why I'm explaining this is, as we all know that these are the fake numbers of the Chinese growth model, or the fake numbers of what they call as the GDP, because all these was simply Wall Street finance coming at 1% and 2%, routed through Hong Kong and Taiwan, and the mainland Chinese character kept communist. Okay. So what we are seeing right now is a complete wipeout of the commercial real estate sector in China, just as which is also happening in California, New York, and Chicago as well. A wipeout of the commercial real estate. And because of that, the Chinese banking have also started collapsing, which is exactly how the Western banking is also going to collapse. So the de-dollarization impact is going to be the same for both the countries, China and United States.
Thank you so much. And this is the first part of your answer. Trump is probably going to be having some thoughts on how to reverse this trend, because essentially at heart he's a businessman, and he might make United States more of a transactional nation. For example, one of the things he wants to do, I think he has already promised this, that he will lower the corporate taxes from 20% down to 15%. And immediately Democrats are up in arms saying that that would give a break of close to 600 billion to the corporations in the United States. 600 billion. This is a lie, a serious lie, because a majority of the Fortune 500 companies have already done what is called as tax inversion by incorporating themselves in a lower tax country such as Ireland, which is 12%. So what Trump wants to do is, if he makes it 15% here, then he will essentially mandate laws to not allow this tax inversion. And if you have basis of working in the United States, you cannot be incorporated outside. And for that, there is an incentive. So I see it more as a pro-business move. So would that, let us say that this tax inversion reverses and things start coming back. I mean, Google is incorporated outside. Guys, that is how bad it is today. So talk to us a little bit about these new policies. Would that arrest the slide of the dollar, or the perception that the dollar is on its way out?
So let me tell you, what is the difference between a Democrat doing a de-dollarization and a Trump regime or a Republican government doing de-dollarization? When a Democrat is doing de-dollarization, he is going to blame Putin, Xi Jinping, Ukraine, Taiwan, etc. conflicts. They will blame these people and sanction the countries and cause de-dollarization. When Trump comes, he is saying there is no need of such conflicts. Why are we siphoning off funds and giving to these companies, deep state, whatever that you call it? Let's just outright raise tariffs on these rogue nations and bring back manufacturing home. So in both the method, the effect on the US dollar is going to be the same, which is de-dollarization, because that mountain of debt is going nowhere. That 35 trillion plus that you have accumulated. Okay, that requires a clean slate, and that clean slate can only happen with the de-dollarization reset. Now, the Trump method is not comfortable with the deep pockets because they are not getting any money in this script. Okay, the script players want conflicts ongoing so that they can pocket the taxpayers' money. Whereas the net effect is going to be same. The only difference is Trump is going to be rough in his talk. The Democrats are going to lecture moral science to the nations. The effect is going to be the same. Okay. So what I see eventually is, as you rightly pointed out, that bringing back manufacturing home or building back those core sectors within the West would require ultra protectionism. Okay. While Democrats would do it some months later after blaming some XYZ rogue nations, giving them moral science lecture, Trump wants to do it upfront and say, hey, why you are buying this all stuff from outside? Register the headquarters here and start functioning here. So that is step 2 for the Democrats. Trump directly goes for step 2. So that's the only difference between the two. Now, as soon as you bring manufacturing home, what is going to happen is to be able for the American citizens or the Western citizens to buy those products, you have to trim the entire economy by 60%. You have to trim the salary levels by 60% so that they can afford buying those made in USA or made in Canada products. Now, it is rightly understandable that a lot of illegals are coming in who can actually do the labor job which is required, expected of them. Maybe that was the plan with which they are being allowed in, but these illegals are not the ones who are coming for doing the work. They are coming for the freebies which is printed from that endless printing machine. They are not aware that de-dollarization is going to shut down that machine. So that is why I'm seeing a big civil chaos in the American nation eventually, which is what we are already seeing in UK and Canada as well, in some some of the corners already, which has started on streets with the immigrants that come in. Now, one thing which the Democrats are very vocal and clear about, they are clearly saying that this is an immigrant nation. Okay, This is not what President Trump is saying. President Trump is clear that this is not an immigrant nation. This is a nation for the white Christians. Okay, so this is a fundamental difference between the two party in terms of what they are focusing on as the main USP for the future of America. But as long as this election is concerned, as I've been saying, I mean, on one of the podcasts 2 weeks before itself, I was hinting at assassination attempts. Clearly said assassination attempts would happen. So you got to understand where when you do in a society a lot of LGBTQ plus, a lot of pharma experiments, gender indoctrination, insects powder experiments with the food products, adding enzymes to them and stuff like this. When you break families like this, I've just got news how the Californian leadership has come up with some new rules about parenting. I don't know. I mean, the children are now children of the state, if not for the parents. So I think this is a direction in which the collapse script is going, where they are hell bent on destroying the family as an institution in the West. And once that happens, it is very obvious that companies will have a free run to do as many experiments on individuals as they want. Once you don't have parents around you, once you never had grandparents when you were growing up, now you have no clue about what kind of asura pravrittis would happen with companies when they are only looking for profits. Okay, so cheap under the skin, gender indoctrination and whatnot. So I think the Western citizens need to be very, very alert, particularly the NRI group, as I've been consistently be saying that this is the common target that they are going to find out, the NRI groups, because one, they are rich, second, they are stable, their education is complete, third, they are savings based people, and fourth, they take up the cream jobs, high level skill jobs, which is why they are the reason of envy as well. And they have a lot of jewelry and assets and whatnot. So you need to be very, very alert as an NRI community as the days move ahead in de-dollarization, because once the interest rates is high enough, only the NRIs would be able to get those kind of loans, which will be a problem of contention with the local whatever. I mean, I don't know if they can be called even citizens, but this is exactly what US is heading towards. It's a big civil chaos, which I see.
Thank you, Dr. Shah. I may not agree with some of the predictions, but surely it is food for thought. I think Gavin Newsom's political career is cooked with this new law that he is trying to bring for parents and children, where he's saying that children become, basically belong to the state. I mean, that is outreach, way too much overreach. And I think he tried to do this thing more because his term is ending. He doesn't have an official post come November. And the man who he thought he would vacate his seat so he can have a national aspirations is not going to move. And now it could be suicide. It would be suicidal, in my opinion, for anybody to say that I will stand in place of Joe Biden post the assassination attempt. So I think it is still going to be Biden versus Trump. Let's see how this plays out. This is just my prediction. Why would anybody want to stick their neck out in a losing cause? Even Kamala Harris would not probably want to run. So we'll wait and see. We have a few questions, Dr. Shah. First question from Sree Sudan wants to know why the present government is not taking strong steps against TN politics in West Bengal. What are they waiting for? These delays are causing a lot of public life turning upside down. Your opinion?
So, Sree Sudan ji, we got to understand that they had, as I said, they had concrete plans before the elections about what they were supposed to do in the starting months as well. And I believe they would have had action on West Bengal for sure at the bare minimum in that list. But given the new reality of the numbers, they must be resequencing their plans. So we don't know when the action will come, but it will come for sure.
Today we saw a tunnel also leading from West Bengal to Bangladesh. See, the tunnel, the problem is, if it is over, if illegal immigration happens over the surface, you can see over the ground, you see what's coming. When it is an illegal tunnel, then anything can be brought in, and that's the danger.
Certainly.
Anish Nagaraj wants to know, one of the Tamil newspapers say that Euro's value will increase with USD losing prominence. What will be the fate of Euro currency in your opinion?
Anishji, we got to understand that most of the allies currencies are eventually became isotopes of the US dollar. They didn't start away with being the isotopes of the US dollar, but eventually they became isotopes of the US dollar. Why do I say so? Because the Federal Reserve has been rescuing allies economies time in and time out with the swaps they do of the currency. So a lot of valuations in the West is dependent on what US dollar is as a value, especially of the ally countries, certainly Europe. So Euro will certainly go down in proportion as well.
Next one, please. Pooja Shingla wants to know, was there any action on gold when Euro was introduced?
Poojaji, no, there wasn't any action on gold per se, because Euro as well is a fiat currency which was launched, backed by nothing. So this de-dollarization was purely a launch of new fiat currency as Euro. So it was backed by nothing as well. So there wasn't any action.
Next one, please. Narayana wants to know, how do the 13 businessmen run the world? Do they also have a hold on Russia?
Narayanji, I'm not aware of which 13 businessmen you are talking, but if you are talking about the deep pockets, I do want, there would be much more than 13. And then there would be layers as well. But the question that you are asking about, do they have a hold on Russia? Now, my answer to this is, well, they would not have a hold on Russia, but they would dangle some benefits to Russia, which Russia would be interested in. For example, the Ukraine conflict, which is going on right now, and has been rightly asking many hosts if they think President Putin doesn't know the location of Zelensky. So do understand that what is the output that Russia wants? If it just wanted a piece of geography of Ukraine, then they have won it from day one. I mean, they can have it and stop the conflict. The goal is de-dollarization and multipolar order and the financial reset, which is why this conflict is stretching. Now, who all would be interested in it? You can understand who all made benefit by exporting Russian oil and gas, via themselves. So Russia made good money out of it. China made good money out of it. India as well made good money out of it. And US-based companies made good benefit out of it. American citizens? No. European citizens? No.
Thank you so much. And Dr. Shah, it has been a very enlightening session. Viewers, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And we are coming back in 1 hour's time to talk about the new bill that has been introduced in the Karnataka Assembly to try and force private companies to hire locals. This is something that goes against the grain of capitalism. How this is going to be playing out, we are going to be discussing that with Sree Kannan in Hindi. So do join us for that. Thank you once again, Dr. Shah. Namaskar.
Jai Hind.